Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sellik the Thunder. Feels like it's been a long time since the last episode because we've been deliberately waiting to do it before the derby this weekend. So I'm very happy to be back. And there it is. There's Daisy in the background there, Ryan. Oh, it took her all 5 minutes to steal the limelight. I can't wait to see the comments section. Look at that dog. Look at that dog. Oh, that is adorable.
Oh,
well, Ryan,
good lover.
I may as well start with you, mate. How you doing, Ryan, down there with Daisy beside you?
We're doing not too bad, aren't we, Daisy? We're just up about half an hour ago, so can't really complain. We're buzzing for Eddie Howe. Daisy's been on the Eddie Howe train for a couple of weeks now as well, so
I mean,
getting used to it.
I think Daisy was probably on the Eddie Howe train before you because you were on that Enzo Express, weren't you? So Daisy's probably there before you. But thank you very much for joining me. I think we were on the same boat here, Cal. We've all been up about half an hour here. You can hear it in our voices and see it in our faces that we're all quite fresh.
Aye, fucking blackout blinds, as I've said, they're a godsend, but at the same time, the worst nightmare.
I've stopped using them
for God knows how long.
I when I moved into the flat, I was like, oh my God, finally blackout curtains. I was like, this is amazing. I've been wanting these my whole life, but after a month, I had to stop using them because I was like sleeping God knows how long, and they're dangerous more than anything. But we're here to talk about Celtic. We're here to talk about everything in the past week that's been going on, everything on and off the park. Of course, we've been in a lucky position where we didn't have to watch our team at the weekend, so we didn't have a game to review then. But this weekend, one more time, one last dance, Ryan. It's Celtic and Rangers. We head to Ibrox. Are you excited for the final derby this season, son?
I mean, we're playing in that, but I'm not really excited. Like, it's such a dead rubber. It's unbelievable. I know you can't really say that with a Celtic Rangers game, but it is really a dead rubber. And I just hope we go out there and put in a good performance. That's all I want at this stage. It's hard to get up for it when there's nothing really to play for other than pride. So I'm not
really. We're at the point now where we've seen 3 or 4, derby performances already this season, and all 4 of them have been great. I mean, you can say as much as you like about us being on top in the last 2 or 3. You know, we've been the better side, but at the end of the day, we've not scored goals. We've been poor, and we've got exactly what we've deserved. Callum, the only thing it seems you've got to play for this weekend now is to stop Rangers' invincible league campaign.
That is genuinely what it seems for that, and for a bit of pride towards ourselves to get another win. But as Ryan said, it is generally just a dead rubber. It's so hard to actually get yourself up for it, and that shouldn't be the case in an Old Firm game. That should be the case of you're right up for it, and you're like from Monday, the start of the week, you're looking forward to it. But it's just one of the games you're like, just get it played, get it done, close at the end of the season.
How do you think it works, Callum, in terms of how wants it more this weekend? Because you look at Celtic and Rangers, and both of them, for as meaningless as this derby is, and we keep saying it, and a lot of people will agree with that. There'll be some people who disagree with that, but as meaningless as I think it is, you still look at Celtic, who have the pressure of trying to end their Invincible League campaign, so that stays Celtic's record. And then you've got Rangers, on the other hand, who want to make it a kind of, of course, an Invincible League campaign, but then no defeats to Celtic all season. Like, when was the last time that happened? Both teams have got something to play for. Embarrassment on the line for Celtic and just sheer jubilation for Rangers. How does that come into play? Do you think that we'll see maybe a hungry Rangers take us to the cleaners once more?
I think more so obviously with the cup result the other week, I think that gives them sort of that extra oomph to go out and put out a good performance against us, because all they've really got to play for now is keeping that invincible season intact. So I think it'll be, for me, I think they'll just try and come at the blocks flying and hope to keep that on their record.
Right, in the last couple of games, tactically, we've been, you could say, a bit better. But as I've already mentioned, it doesn't really matter when you don't get the result. At the weekend, against Aberdeen and against Rangers the weekend prior, we looked really, really poor out wide. We didn't have that width. Now, Alison Conroy has reported 2 hours ago that James Forrest will be available for this weekend. Is it now about getting him into that team and trying to expand the game a little bit, trying to use those wide channels, try and be a little bit more creative down there and cause problems for Rangers fullbacks?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Forrest basically walks into the team. We were starved of him a lot this season, and then when he came back, he's seen why we missed him so much. It'll be good to have him down the right-hand side and El Yunusi down the left-hand side, give us a wee bit of width, because El Yunusi likes playing down the left-hand side. He's better in that position. He gets goals from there. It'll be good to see Forrest in action again. I think he brings out he's a bit of passion as well in the team because he's been about for 9-10 years.
Aye.
So the other players sort of feed off him, I would say. So it's definitely a boost for us.
I brought this up in Talk Scottish Football yesterday, right? Of course, if Forrest is available to start the game, if he's fit to start the game, absolutely walks into that team, as you said. But I want to hear both your opinions here. Surely to Christ, John Kennedy came out before the Aberdeen game and said, we're going to make changes, we're going to bring it, and they never. I don't remember looking at it and going, oh, there's a big change. So I think that now, surely going into this game, if you need somebody on that right-hand side, Cal, would you know, I don't know if you agree with me, I said start Karamoko Dembele. And I know I've said, give him time and time again, but even if it's a derby or not, throw him in. He caused Hearts problems when he was playing a couple of years ago, and he's had no time since.
See, I think it's one of those ones, if you are to throw Karamoko into the game, it's a bit of a big game to turn and throw him into. I know it is a dead rubber in the sense, but try to put him up against like a player like Barisic. Barisic isn't maybe the best defensively, but I feel like I think he'd have a field day with him. Like the way I thought we would have, to be fair, when I seen Patterson starting right back, I thought put a decent enough player out the left and get him running at him. We never really capitalised on that, but if push comes to shove, Forrest isn't 100% fit, I don't see why not give him a chance. But
because the way I look at it is just there's nothing really to lose now in this game. And you've got to now prioritise these guys that are going to be here next season. And it seems that Karamoko Dembele will be here next season. Yep. We've seen this apparently 1 year extension on the contract. So if Dembele's going to be here and we want to influence him to stay at the club, then you've got to give him time in these games, in my eyes. And by giving him experience in these games, it's only going to make him learn in these games and learn to play in them in the future. Ryan, I don't know about you, but what would you say? Because there's that conversation of playing Christie out in the right. I think we're not going to be in any sort of situation where realistically Dembele does start, but I think that's never going to happen anyway. If Forrest isn't fit to start, we'll be forced to play the diamond probably. But yeah. I feel like, and it's the case with so many players, like we've got nothing to lose, man. If they go invincible, they go invincible. Fuck it, we don't deserve to beat them the way we've been this season. So let's give the younger guys a chance, and maybe we'll get something fresh in the park.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's more of a chance of him coming on with maybe half an hour, 20 minutes to go. The fact that he is here for another year is quite a boost, I think, because nobody really wanted to see him go out the back door without really getting a chance. So maybe next season, you know, the new manager coming in might get a tune out of him. If Forrest isn't fully fit, I'd expect we would play Christie in the diamond, but Forrest's been training all week, so I don't see why he can't start the game and then play 60 minutes. I'd play him for 60 minutes and then bring Dembele on for half an hour to keep that width down the right-hand side.
Right, well, we've been talking about the derby for the kind of first, obviously, portion of the show. I'm going to open the floor up. Is there anything, I'll start with you, Ryan, that you would like to bring to us about this derby game at the weekend? Any thoughts? And it could be anything. It could be to do with the opposition. It could be to do with the team selection, managerial choice, anything at all. Anything you want to say about this game at the weekend?
I've not really I know we've not had a game at the weekend, but I've not really been thinking about it. I've kind of been more focusing on the whole managerial situation.
Which will come to, of course.
And letting the small matter of a Celtic Rangers game go on in the background. I mean, It's always going to be a big game, but there's just nothing to play for. It's like one of those games 10 years ago, like the ones under Mowbray or Lennon, like when the season was already done. Mm-hmm. You were just hoping for maybe a wee bit of pride at the end. I can still remember those games quite clearly in my head. But I would now I don't see the point in putting Sorrow in. I know that we've been crying out for him to be playing, but it's obvious he's not going to get a chance now to the end of the season. If you're going to give Brown this sort of send-off, just give him it for this game. And then, I mean, if this was to be his last game, I wouldn't really complain, then play Sorrow for the last two. But he might be rusty, Sorrow, and then coming into the game, and then he might make a mistake. You don't want that.
Cal, what's your opinion, the whole last dance thing then? Of course, we had it one time and now we've got it again. It seems like we might have it another 2 times the way it's gone this season with the last games after this. Brown and Sorrow, your thoughts there?
Personally, I'd rather Sorrow because we know he's going to be here next season. I'd rather we're playing, as you said earlier, the guys that are going to be here next season, I'd rather they're playing. So they start to gel together, and also if there's something to come back, bonding, whatever. But I'd still rather that. I mean, yeah, give Brown his send-off his last game at Ibrox for Celtic, but even at that, like, this last dance part, I cannot be bothered with it again. Like, that was the one thing I was going to say. Whoever watches this, don't go and put on Twitter the last dance. I cannot be fucked with seeing it again.
It was like the first one that came up during the week there. Everybody was like, oh, Christ. Well, I don't know if everybody was. There was a few people liking it and all this. I'm like, Christ, almighty. You know, like, look, I think people are forgetting the monumental difference between like Michael Jordan's last dance and Scott Brown's last dance. Michael Jordan was at the top of his game, about to go and win his, sixth championship.
No.
You know, like a very big difference in what we're seeing right now. I feel like it's ironically taking the piss out of Scott Brown at this point.
You see the whole Brown thing in Sorrow. The reason I'm saying Brown is because I'm resigned to the fact that he'll play. I know he will play because he's not played Sorrow in any of the games before. So why would they throw him in a Celtic Rangers game?
Because, of course, that was what I was going to say. I was going to suggest that, and because I know that exactly what you were meaning, where you're coming from. You've just explained it there. But I was going to say, like, oh, you may be contradicting yourself a bit by saying we want the fresher players, but then saying, oh, Brown will play. But we've all accepted that Brown will play. It's like there is no point in arguing it. We know that Sorrell probably should, but we've resigned to the fact, as you've said, Ryan, that Sorrell will not play and Brown will start over him. It's just
that's a problem with the seasons. Sorry, but there's players that are just in there that are just out of form, that are just playing because there's no competition or the manager's already chosen that position regardless of merit. Like Edward up front, he's just playing because he's the best option up there, not because he's playing well. There's no competition in the team whatsoever.
And finally, before we move on, let's have a little bit of a prediction contest here, see if anybody gets closer. Will Celtic manage to end the invincible run of Rangers? Ryan, I'll start with you. Do you think we're going to win this weekend at Ibrox?
Yes.
1-0. Oh, a clean sheet. A clean sheet for Celtic at Derby.
Yep, I think we'll win. I've just got to be positive. I can't be negative anymore. I've been too negative this season, but can you blame me with how it's gone? Probably not. I will win.
I got a comment yesterday, before I come to you, Cam, I got a comment yesterday by John Kennedy video, which we'll talk about on this as well. I said we'd speak about that a lot more in depth here. But I got a comment in the John Kennedy video. I wonder if anything positive will ever come out of this fucking channel. I'm like, you clearly have not been watching for the last 5 years, because it was only positive until this season. Like, it's madness how people expect me to be positive about what has been the most heartbreaking and horrible and depressing season that I've ever had to endure. As I said last night, I think I said this, we were out for a drink the other night, Calm. I think it might have been then, it might not have been then, it might have been somewhere else. I think this is worse than Mowbray's season. I would put my money on that. But Cal, your prediction for the weekend, will Celtic win, or do you think that it's going to be another derby humiliation?
I mean, I need to try and remain positive about it, then I think I'll go for a 2-1 win.
That's what I was going to say. 2-1 win for me as well. I originally did say 1-0. I agreed with Ryan, and then David and Dev were like, you honestly think there'll be a clean sheet? And then I sat for a moment and I thought, actually, yeah, there's not going to be a clean sheet. But we've got them there. That's the kind of segment on the show now that's going to be clipped and thrown around Twitter, and we'll be on Rangers Spurs because we've all predicted a Celtic win. Christ, we've got to at least try and support the team. Right, okay, that does it for the Derby talk. We'll be back next week to do our review of the Derby one more time. I feel like, it's like that woman, see when they come out and they tell the woman that there's another general election, she's like, not another one. That's what it feels like at this point. We'll be back next week for that. But let's move on to matters that we can be more positive about, that we can talk about a bit more enthusiastically. And we will start off with the man himself, the man we speak about every week. He's not officially a member of staff yet, but it looks as though he's soon to be. Mr. Edward John Frank. How is that? Is that right? Is it Frank John or John Frank?
I think it's John Frank.
John Frank. Well, Eddie, how anyway? Ryan, we have been waiting. We've been talking every day about when, what's going to happen. And we got a step closer the other day with Stephen McGowan saying that it could be only a matter of time now.
Yeah, I think everybody was getting a wee bit uneasy because we didn't get any news for the past couple of weeks or so. But, I mean, even then, Stephen McGowan was saying to stay calm, basically, that both sides were optimistic and quite calm about the situation. So it's good to hear that things are progressing nicely. It's the best possible appointment I think that we can get in terms of realistic options. It's a signing that's, I think, could be as good, if not better, than Brendan Rodgers when he came. I think he's got a higher reputation than Brendan Rodgers did because of the way Rodgers left at Liverpool. Mm-hmm. He was obviously sacked midway through the season, whereas Eddie Howe kind of half went out at Bournemouth on his own accord. So it's a very exciting appointment, and it's an appointment that will attract new players as well, which is good. He's very much a pull factor for players that want to come into the club. So all in all, it's a real positive appointment. If it gets over the line, fingers crossed, like Tottenham don't come in or anything, I'm still worried about that.
I have a feeling Spurs will be trying to dig their hands elsewhere. I think they want another box office appointment. You know, they want a Mourinho-esque appointment if they can somehow find it. Maybe an Allegri or something. I think we'll be fine. It looks like Howe could be finished. Callum, we've obviously spoke for weeks about our opinions on Howe, and we know how much we've wanted this to happen. That's nothing new. So there's no point in saying how good is our appointment is this for Celtic, because we know how good it is. Well, hoping how good it is. But it seems like the delay only seems to be now is backroom staff. And perhaps the loose ends have to be tied up there. Bournemouth have a couple of coaches in Simon Weatherstone, Stephen Purchase, who are apparently targets. And then we're talking about Richard Hughes as well, as the director of football. How important is it that Eddie Howe does get these things in place before he becomes manager? And it's made this delay a bit more acceptable, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think you see the problem that happened with Lennon when he comes in. He's not got his own sort of coaching staff. He just sort of chucked in with what's there. So I think that's how there was also the problems that were said, what do you call it, with him and other members of coaching staff. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But as I said, I think it's a very big fact that he has his own people around him, especially with him coming up from down south.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a bit of an adjustment period for him. Whereas he just comes up, he's saying he's chucked in with the likes of John Kennedy, Gavin Strachan. That'd be a very sort of weird area for him, I think, because he doesn't know anyone up here, doesn't know a thing about it. Whereas if he has even 2 or 3 of the coaches he's worked with previously, then it can help him ease into it a bit.
Well, obviously, the rumours have been the only person really who's been speaking to up here is Peter Grant, who left Alloa, and there was talk that maybe he would become part of the backroom staff at Celtic. Yet to hear more than that, we'll see. But usually we leave the Twitter questions to the end, but I really like this one because it ties in quite nicely and it goes around here. James asked, are we naive to let Howe bring in his own backroom team from top to bottom, seeing as they might all leave with him in 3 to 4 years' time, like they did with Rodgers? You know, of course, Colo Touré left with Rodgers, Chris Davies left with Rodgers, eventually Lee Congerton followed as well. So, you know, you've got a problem there. What if Howe does get a Leicester calling him in 3 years' time and all his staff are away with him, that leaves Celtic in that position? Ryan, I'll come to you first. Is it kind of one of those ones that you can put to the side just now because it's got to get us in a better position, or do you worry about those sort of things?
I think it matters more that we've got a director of football in place, a guy that will stay at the club regardless of who the manager is every 3 or 4 years. If we've got that guy that can be the sort of main person that's going to stay at the club, regardless of what happens with the merry-go-round of managers that can happen, for whatever reason, then it's good. And that's more important. I mean, it's good to be excited about Eddie Howe and that. There is always that worry that in 3 or 4 years that he does leave the club, but I think we can just get excited for a wee bit just now before worrying about that.
Well, this is the thing. Let's compare the two for a moment. Eddie Howe, Brendan Rodgers. Cal, I'll come to you here. But if you think about it, if Celtic play this smart and they do what they should do throughout his entire time at the club, we shouldn't be losing Eddie Howe mid-season anyway. So if Eddie Howe does decide to leave Celtic in 3 to 4 years' time, you're hoping that it's in the middle of it, you know, in the summer, where Celtic can then go and recruit another manager, and they have staff below him to work with. You know, your Stephen McManus's, your Darren O'Days and stuff like that, until they find a new manager. Rodgers leaving in February was very much our own problems that caused that. You know, the fact that we didn't give him a director of football, the fact we didn't give him the money on players he wanted to spend. If you don't make those same mistakes with Howe, we shouldn't find ourselves in that position. Would you agree with me in saying that?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's just like anything in life, like sort of, you give a bit, you get a bit. Mm-hmm. So, like, if they give him the leeway, saying, right, we'll give you the money for the players you want, he'll bring in the results. Well, say he should be bringing in the results.
I hope.
For that. Exactly. But it's just one of the ones. It's you work with somebody, you cooperate with them, they'll cooperate back. That's the way it should have been with Rodgers. Obviously, there was the problems with the board and such, and that's what caused them to leave, essentially. Well, that's what's been said. That's what caused them to leave, essentially. Yeah. So you could only hope that if they were to get Eddie Howe in, that they can just cooperate as much as possible and just play ball.
Ryan, a £2 million a year salary. Is that less than Lennon?
I don't know if that figure's real or not, but I thought Lennon was on $2.5 million a year.
I know, imagine that.
I think he was, aye.
You get...
Exactly, how? He'd be getting paid double that. I mean, because he's twice the manager Neil Lennon is, let's be honest here. he's young, he's progressive, he's got his own philosophies. I feel like I'm being cliched with the sort of things that Alan Thompson would say on Sky Sports.
But did you see Alan Thompson the other day? His comments were, I think those comments are helpful to try and encourage maybe some of the older support who don't really want to buy in as much to Eddie Howe being this young, promising manager, right?
Yeah, those fans need to get with it. The fact that he's not a Celtic man, we need to get past this now. I mean, we need to employ the people that are the best men for the job. That didn't happen last time around. I feel that this time they've done their due diligence and they've got the perfect candidate for the job. So on this occasion, I can't really fault the board for getting this over the line if they do.
Well, here's the big question, Callum. We've been talking about this in the podcast quite often this season, and we've been talking about season tickets. Will we renew our season tickets? So, of course, Celtic are in this social media blackout between... Is it started today? Is it today it starts?
3 o'clock.
I think it is, yeah.
3 o'clock. So it starts today in a few years' time, and it gets lifted on Tuesday morning. Also, we have a bank holiday on Monday, so I think we're all very much hoping and praying that the announcement comes on Tuesday morning. Which you can only imagine will be the same day as the season ticket renewal date. You'd think that will start on Tuesday too. So it all lines together very nicely. It seems like it's a bit poetic. It's been a bit planned. Are you renewing your season ticket now, Callum?
Yeah, well, provided the way everything's going, I am hoping it's one of the ones. The postman comes at 9 and the news is announced at 12 that he's coming in. If that was to be the case, I think that would get everybody flooding back to it. Mm-hmm. I think you can see also why they've been holding it back, why they've not sent the renewal forms out.
Aye.
I think that is just a case of because they know, see, once they get that sort of like box office name, for example, that's everybody will come flooding back in. Everybody that's skied up their season ticket, then the queues will probably just get right back up the way it was under Rodgers.
They need that kind of first day burst, don't they? Like people like in their thousands renewing on day one so that they can tweet about it and all the rest of it. Whereas if they'd done this 3-4 weeks ago, there wouldn't have been that first day burst. It would have been a bit stagnant. I think fans would be like, well, I'm waiting to find out what's going on. Of course, you're going to get a big crop of Celtic fans who, no matter what, will go and renew their season ticket. And to be fair, I'd probably categorise myself as one of them because I was, after missing the football for a year, I don't think I wouldn't have renewed. But Ryan, this certainly does give you the encouragement to get it done pronto.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I think Eddie Howe's name will be in the renewal book. I think that's the reason they've held it back, because they want to put his name on it. And I guarantee you, if Eddie Howe's name is on there, they won't even need an extension date for the season tickets because they will be sold.
It reminds me of obviously it wasn't the same for people renewing, but it was the year that I returned to getting a season ticket after a couple of years not having one, when Rodgers came in. And I still remember, because I remember getting interviewed by Summer Harrell of Celtic TV, and I got interviewed for ST. Okay, Cam's face.
She's some back it.
I remember getting interviewed as well by the woman at STV News. They were asked all these questions, but they threw along that tagline, the Rodgers Revolution, I think it was. It was called because this was like the big giant queue of thousands of folk at Celtic Park waiting to get their season tickets for Brendan Rodgers. I'm sure that was a tagline given. So I see where you're coming from, Ryan, a similar sort of branding idea from Celtic to encourage everybody.
It makes financial sense to bring an elite manager in because elite managers sell season tickets. The name himself, Eddie Howe, will sell season tickets. Mm-hmm. It's very much like the board making stupid decisions in the Champions League, not buying good players for the Champions League qualifiers. If you get to the Champions League proper, you'll remake that money and even double it.
Yep.
What is the point in taking a risk with like a half-arsed appointment when you can bring in an elite manager who will guarantee you results? Well, maybe not guarantee. I don't want to put my neck on the line yet, but I mean, come on, it's a match made in heaven, Eddie Howe and Celtic, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I'm buzzing. It just seems like it's a proper step in the right direction. And you're hoping that it just changes the club from top to bottom in terms of what we do domestically and in a European stage. Just everything. It really feels like this is a proper, big moment in Celtic's history. It really does. And of course, it can go anyway. A risk with Eddie, I've said this time and time again, a risk with Eddie Howe is a risk with John Kennedy. A risk with John Kennedy. Every manager you get is a risk, but there certainly is something you can do to try and encourage the supporters and give a bit of faith. And I think they've done that with this appointment. But talking about elite managers, let's move on to John Kennedy as we talk about the rumours of him being linked with the director of football job. Now, I think it's been sort of rubbished over the past day. It's been kind of disregarded, and it's good to hear that. But let's talk about it anyway, because it's one of those ones. One step forward, two steps back. Imagine Eddie Howe did get the job, and then John Kennedy was director of football. I mean, I don't quite know where it all came from, but it would have been a disastrous bit of business, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know if it was more on the fact that he would get the sporting director's job than the director of football. But
that's one of those ones. Right.
It's one of those ones where if the team's winning, you wouldn't bat an eyelid for it. But if the team's losing, and John Kennedy was a part of that Lennon team that did lose the league this year, then you wouldn't really get away with it. I know Kennedy's came out in his press conference today and basically rubbished the suggestion of that, which is good. But you see teams in like Bayern Munich, Ajax, they all have ex-players as their sporting directors, but if they're successful, then they get away with it because like they're obviously doing a good job. But I just don't think it would sit well with Celtic fans if he was to get given the sporting director's job.
It was weird, Callum, because he's not really qualified for the role. And why would you make somebody who's an integral part of the problems this season go above Eddie Howe to be the kind of guy that dictates more of what happens? It makes no sense.
No, I think it would be absolutely baffling if it was to have happened. I think also, as you've said himself, he rubbished it off. But it'd be absolutely baffling. Like, you would need to seriously do a medical check, and some of the members of staff thinking, are you all right in the heat? It would just be horrendous.
Yeah, but I respect John Kennedy. I've always said this. I've always been a John Kennedy fan. I don't know why. I just have. And I don't mind the thought of him staying at the club, but I just feel like as a director or a sporting director, it just doesn't really point. I don't know. I mean, why would Eddie Howe wouldn't be the best place with that, right?
I know. It would be a weird place for Eddie Howe to be in. The thing that also struck me, I saw a comment online, someone saying, "Oh, look, the eyes and the ears of the board will remain," but that is a genuine thing. Like, he could be there to sort of report back to the board, because at the end of the day, John Kennedy's been given a job after his various injuries. Like, he owes the board, like with his managerial sort of career. So he'll feel indebted to them, if that's a word. Is that a word? Indebted? Indebted to them?
Yeah, I think we're almost there anyway with the word. something along those lines.
That he might feel like he has a sort of loyalty to the board to sort of report back to them. I don't want to call him like a spy or that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean. Look, we've got about 15 minutes left on today's show. Of course, we've already said it's a bit shorter. We've got 12 questions to fill in. We've got a quiz to hopefully try and fit in true Sellik the Thunder style. It's what sets us apart for the crowd, lads. The good old-fashioned quiz at the end. But we've got to talk about one more thing, and I know Ryan McGinley has been dying to speak about this. And let's finish off the main conversation with Leigh Griffiths. Leigh Griffiths set to perhaps get a 1-year extension on his Celtic deal, which would see him stay at the club next season, and also milk the club out of £1 million to remain at the club. Callum, I feel like I've not came to you first a lot here, but I've got to let Ryan start us off here because he is chomping at the bit, I think, to speak about this whole bonanza.
You know, I'm going to try and be a wee bit level-headed here. You know my thoughts on the whole thing. We don't want to hamstring ourselves from the fact that we're probably going to see Edward leave. Klimala's already left. We don't know what's going on with Ayeti. So maybe having Griffiths there isn't like a complete disaster, but at the same time, he's let us down so many times, especially this season. At the start of the season, he came back unfit. He wasn't even considered for selection for the pre-season tour or the pre-season camp in France. And then a week later, Neil Lennon was like, "Oh, he's training brilliantly in that." I know people say that, a manager will get a tune out of him. He's still the best striker in Scotland. I mean, he's not. Edward's the best striker in Scotland, I would say, and then probably I'd say Morelos below him. It's one of those ones. It doesn't make sense to me. I think both parties need to come to a conclusion on this. Maybe we're signing him on an extension so that we can get a wee bit more money for him. I don't know, but I don't know what his value is. But I'm not really for him staying, to be honest.
Yep. No, well, Callum, we talk about all these backward steps. John Kennedy being sporting director, appointing a Celtic man. To me, this is as backwards a step as well. Re-signing Leigh Griffiths. There is absolutely no denying that there is a quality football player there, but when you don't get it for 2-3 straight seasons at Celtic, what is the point? Why are we wasting wages, and why are we continuously giving them chances?
Oh, it was baffling. I mean, I think, as Ryan had touched on there, like, for the start of the season, he comes back unfit. You think, like fair enough, some players don't come back the best of fitness, but that's your pre-season for. But in the fact for that to somehow change in a week, that's baffling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not having that. So there's clearly obviously something happened there. But in the same sense that I'm saying with Ayeti as well, obviously, he's sort of been bombed at the team. Obviously, you can see why he was playing Edward to sort of see out the season. But even at that, see these last few games, if he's fit, why not give him the chance? Because he's going to be here next season. Well, I'm imagining he'll be here next season. So why not give him the games? It's the same as, like, I seen somebody put it on Twitter with Barkas. Someone said Barkas said he's not interested in getting back to Greece. He's adamant he's going to stay here and play for his place. So why not give him these last few games? Give him the chance here.
See, that's the attitude you want to hear. And I think Leigh Griffiths, for as much as I appreciate the fact that Leigh Griffiths continuously does want to come back and he continuously wants to play and he seems motivated to play when he gets those chances. But when you've got players who are determined to fight and stay when they're coming from Greece and all the rest of it, and then Griffiths throws away chance after chance after chance, surely you've got to prioritise those guys. Surely you've got to give the chances to the guys who have been working hard and training.
Yep, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Also, the fact that this is a Euros year as well.
Aye.
The fact that he's not busting a gut to get into that Euros team, albeit he might still manage to get in there because of the bigger...
the extra spaces, aye.
The extra space, plus McBurney being out injured. Griffiths is better than McBurney, that's a given. But, I don't know why he's not busting a gut. It's such a big year for him personally. And the thing is, he's a repeat offender. I don't want to say repeat offender because that makes him sound like a criminal.
Aye.
But this isn't the first time that he's let us down, and yet he still seems to get more of a leeway than other players in the team, which annoys me a wee bit. It's a sort of favouritism. Yep. Why can't we just see the fact that he keeps on, like, letting us down?
If someone else in the team was to go through the amount of chances that he's had and throw them back in the face of the team, I don't think they would be given as much leeway. Not at all. And there's always a continuous argument in their comments section after we speak about Griffiths about how we should give him another chance and why we're being too harsh on him and all the rest of it. But I genuinely can't fathom. I've tried, and people have got to understand, I've been doing this 5 years on YouTube. And I feel like over those 5 years, I've had these conversations about Griffiths every fucking season. And I have tried and I've accepted him back into the team and I've went with it. But when it gets to 2021, after starting the channel in 2016, you're still having those conversations. Surely you've got to realise that recurring theme can no longer go on. I don't feel like there is any room for defence.
It's not as if he's going to change. He's 30 now.
Aye.
He's 30, 31.
And that's the thing. Callum, he doesn't look fit either. Like, he's not getting any fitter, it seems. Like, he came on against Aberdeen, scored that goal, and people are suddenly giving him the Maradona treatment. Like, he's the best in the world. He's not looking fit. He's not scored an abundance of goals. What is there to actually cling on to?
For me, that's what he haul. Like, for a player to still not be fit at this point in the season, you need to turn him back. Like, what are you actually doing? Well, I'm convinced he just goes up to Lennox Town, sits in his arse, does fuck all, gets in his motor and goes back home. Because that's the way it seems. It genuinely seems like he's doing nothing for him to still not be fit at this point of the season. It's just, it's embarrassing to an extent, I feel.
Aye.
It's the fact that you get a player like that.
It's a sad indictment on what the club is going through.
Mm-hmm. Especially, I mean, after everything this season, that I should say it doesn't surprise me, but in the same sense, like, you still think, as Ryan had pointed out, like, the fact this is a Euros year, you think he'd be right up for it, try to push to get in that first team. Even if it became a two up top situation with Edward again, you think he'd be fucking biting at every chance he gets, but it just seems as if he's looking at it like, oh, just half-arsing it.
Aye. Well, it's a conversation that we'll probably have to speak about when news comes out. I mean, when is it tonight, the deadline?
Yeah.
Is it actually the deadline tonight?
There's a
Wow.
couple of reports saying that they're going to give him another year. The Sun and the Daily Record were both reporting it. But the thing is, you've got to compare them both. Like with Edward, I know Edward gets some amount of stick, but he's fit.
I know.
He's there on the pitch to get criticised. Griffiths kind of gets a free hit because he's not on the pitch.
Yeah. That's I've never really thought of it like that. You know, what if he got the amount of
Really
time?
annoys me.
But that's the thing. As soon as you say, what if he got the same amount of time as Edouard's had this season? They've got to go, oh well, they scored 40 goals, but now that's what you get. Like, point to the signs that suggest they'll score that many
Not
goals.
scored 40 goals since 2016. We're living in the past with Leigh Griffiths. We need to move on.
But before we move on to the final two segments of the show, Olivier Ntcham looks likely to return to Celtic this summer after Marseille's president Jorge Sampaoli did not mention taking up their option to buy on the midfielder. So Ntcham coming back, could he be of use very quickly, yes or no, next season, Teddy Howe?
I think so, aye.
Huh? You
Next year under Eddie Howe.
Oh, big claim. I'm telling you, Howe's the kind of manager you want with Ntcham, though. You really do. You could see the talent of him back. And then finally, as well, Belgian top flight club Oostend are still looking to turn their loan for Jack Hendry into a permanent transfer. And they're also wanting to sign that boy from Kilmarnock, Zeke Medley, who's on loan from Arsenal. But Jack Hendry, I would not mind getting rid of him, honestly. I'm not buying into the hype quite yet. I need to see it in a Celtic shirt. But that's the gossip for today. And we move on to the final couple of segments. We've only got a few questions today, so we'll rattle through them before we move on to the quiz. First off, I've got Beans saying, if you were to consume porridge through a sock, would you be drinking or would you be eating?
Both.
Nice cop-out answer there. I think, well, if you're doing it through a sock, surely you still got to kind of chew on it, haven't you? Like, so it's technically eating. It's oats at the end of the day. It's not like a pure liquid. I'd say eating. Look at our faces. Welcome to the Sellik.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Welcome to the Sellik, the Thunder, lads. Connor Carr asks a good question. Do you think, with the rumours that Griffiths in talks for a new contract, as long as he proves himself, do you think he deserves it being one of the best strikers in the country this day, or would you totally cut ties and sell him on? We've been here, we've done it, we've just had the tango about it. We'd sell him all on, I think, all three of us, wouldn't we?
Aye.
That on his day. It's that on his day statement. When is his day? 5 years ago?
That's what people say about Ntcham, right enough. When's Ntcham's day? But I think at least Ntcham's got 5 years on him and actually an athlete. You know what I mean?
He's never looked overweight when he's on the pitch, Ntcham.
How do you rate our chances with Forrest back in the side for the weekend? It was clear he was missed in the cup tie, and having them back seemed to give people a boost. That was Decky. It does give you a bit of motivation, doesn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, absolutely. Gives you width down the right-hand side, and he's done it before against Rangers. I mean, that was 3 years ago today, scored that goal in the 5-0 game. How quickly time changes, eh? But,
Aye.
Oh, what a great goal. That's the best goal I've ever seen at Celtic Park, for me anyway. In terms of everything put together, what it meant, it was brilliant.
Callum, are you ready to give him absolute Doug's abuse when he does something wrong at the weekend?
No, you know that I was never his biggest fan before this. Anybody that knows me knows I was never his biggest fan, but I think this season you notice what he brings to the team. Even if it is a matter, like say he misses out, like say 12, 13 assists that season, those 12, 13 assists could be goals that win you games 1 or 2-0, ones that get you the 3 points. They don't leave us in the deficit we're in. So I don't accept them into the team.
Reece Ferguson, do you think Eddie Howe already has drawn up a list of potential targets of players from down south or anywhere, I suppose? Do you think he's got players in mind, Ryan?
I think he'll be definitely doing his due diligence in terms of all the players that he could possibly look at. Maybe that's a job that Fergal Harkin can help him with as well, in terms of getting a short list down for players, because obviously Fergal Harkin will know all the players that he works with. Like, he sends players out on loan because he's the sort of the liaison officer at Man City. But he'll definitely have a good knowledge. He said himself, Eddie Howe watches a lot of football, so he knows a lot of targets. So he'll be able to put that to good use. I think he's already okayed a couple of the players leaving anyway. I mean, I know Manny Perez and Gutman were going to leave anyway, but I don't imagine we'd have sold Klimala without Eddie Howe saying if he wanted to keep him or not. So,
Callum, is no matter if he's got targets or no, and as nerve-wracking as a rebuild might be, it's still going to be very exciting. And under the recruitment of Howe, it's going to make an interesting couple of months.
I know it definitely will. I think in terms of him he'll definitely have a few ideas and the players that he wants to bring in. He'll have looked at our team and looked at areas that we need to strengthen in. So, I mean, if he didn't have a short list of players, I'd be baffled. But I'd expect that he does have at least 4 to 5 players that he'd like to bring in.
I would say around that number would sound reasonable. And then finally, Rissy with the big question, a massive question, a huge question. We had to answer it. In Ryan 118's opinion, but I'll make it to the panel, of course. In the panel's opinion, is a Jaffa cake a cake or a biscuit?
Again, that's like the point. I'd have probably said a biscuit. No, usually find them the biscuit aisle.
No.
So you're saying for your birthday next year, if I come up to your house and put a candle and a Jaffa cake, you'd be happy with it?
I'd gladly accept it, mate. It's in the name. It says Jaffa cake. You know what I mean?
But then where do you find them in the shop? You don't see them next to cake.
Aye, but you find like cereal bars in the biscuit aisle. No, they're no biscuits.
They're not biscuits, but then at the same time, it's not a cake. Somebody said, we go to your birthday cake and you give me a Jaffa cake. I would be massively disappointed.
A Jaffa cake has got a sponge base, right? A biscuit is meant to be biscuit. There's no biscuit involved in a Jaffa cake. It's sponge.
So it's an angel slice then?
But then a cupcake's a cake. That's tiny as well. Doesn't matter about the size.
What to do with the size, it? You should know that, Ryan.
Oh, it was good, son. That was good. Oh, we have fun. Ryan, you're sitting quiet in there. What you think?
I'm allergic to cakes, boys, so...
Oh, are you?
Oh,
that's no good. That's no good. Right, well, there you go. There's the break news. Me and Ryan are going to be late for our social and ethical issues class because I'm going to quickly fire out this quiz. We're going to do it rapid. We need to get it done. So we're going to 5 minutes late to Susanna's class.
I'll just give you the one more answer to everything, right? So Ryan's trying to win this one. I'll just give you it so he can get through the class.
Right, it's time for the If You Know Your History quiz. Cue the music. The music that Ryan doesn't fucking want at Celtic Park. Why do you want it changed at Celtic Park?
It's cheesy. Paradise by Coldplay. Go out to that. Come on.
It's so. It's old school. It's good. It's everything that football's about. If you know your history.
It was, but football's changed now.
Oh, wait, shite. Everton when they changed theirs.
But I like theirs.
Oh, but you see, like theirs, but you don't like yours. How does that make any sense? Oh,
I don't know. Maybe I don't hear ours as much. Oh, but they've got that Z-Cars one.
Z-Cars is good. I like Z-Cars.
Oh, you mean in the If You Know the History?
I'm talking about it's a grand old team.
Oh, their one's even worse.
Aye. But still, it's just it's football heritage, isn't it? As Mourinho would say. This is football heritage. Right, quiz, let's fire through this. I'm just going to pick who's going first today. And it's going to be Mr. Callum Craig. Right, are you ready?
As I've said, you'll get the same answer for every question, Ryan, so on we go.
Celtic played in 14 consecutive League Cup finals between 1965 and 1978. How many of the 14 did they win?
6.
Oh!
Is it?
Aye, well done. 1-0 Cal. Good shout. Well done. I thought you were going to say like 10 or something like that, but there you go. Right, it's time for you, Ryan. Who holds the record for scoring the most goals for Celtic in a single European match?
In a European match?
In a European match. I'll give you a clue. It was 4 goals in the one game.
I don't know.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I would never have
Harold Brantback?
No, it's Jackie Jakinovski with 4 goals.
I really had a foreign name. That seems terrible. But...
I would never have got it myself. Obviously, I know who Jackie Jakinovski is and that, but I never knew he scored 4 goals.
Was that against Pilsen?
It doesn't say who it's against. It's just says Jackie Jakinovski. So we'll never know. Right, okay. Callum, I'll give you if you can name 4. You'll get a point if you can name 4. Which 8 Celtic players later went on to manage Hibs? Can you name it 4?
I feel like I asked you this one before. TSF.
I think you might have actually. Aye. You definitely did. You definitely did.
Stubbs.
Yep.
Lennon.
Collins. Yep. That's 3.
And fuck.
So when you get to the last one, it makes it hard, doesn't it?
Oh, fuck. Aye, that's what sort of stumps you on it. Fuck, I can't think.
Oh, is he chucked it? You thrown in the towel?
just trying to previous years, but
there's a couple of obvious ones in there.
Aye, go for it. Sake of time.
Oh, well,
for the
right.
sake of time.
You want
the old one?
30-year-old one. Can he play? Can he manage? He's in there. So you would have had the choice of Neil Lennon, John Collins, Bertie Auld, Alan Stubbs, Tony Mowbray, John Hughes, Pat Stanton, and the main one, the big man himself, Jock Stein.
Aye.
There you go.
Stranger run through and I fucking...
Aye. Right, okay. Right, Ryan, Celtic only lost 2 games in the 66-67 league campaign, both against the same side. Who was it? It's a hard one. If you're not there to live through it. No, it was Dundee United. Good enough guess. One side of the new firm. Right, okay, Callum, back to you to go up 2-1 it would be, wouldn't it? Celtic Football Club were formed with the objective of maintaining the dinner tables for the children of the East End. In which church hall were they found?
Oh, fuck, I have not got a clue.
Only down the road for me.
St Mungo's?
No, St Mungo's.
I think it was a line.
Do you know what you're right?
Road for a flat.
I don't know.
St Mary's, down the Calton.
Right.
Tommy Burns had his funeral in there, I'm sure. Okay, Ryan, you could take the lead here. In the 1970 European Cup semi-final at Elland Road against Leeds, what was strange about Celtic's attire that night?
What was the date? 1970?
1970 European Cup semi-final, first leg at Elland Road against Leeds. What was strange about Celtic's kit that night?
Were the numbers on the side, like on their sleeves?
No, I would have got this just purely through looking through the kit history of Celtic. We wore red socks that night.
Weird.
We wore red
really
socks. I don't know what the story is behind it, but there you go. We wore red socks. Right, now a chance. This is your question number 4, Calum, isn't it?
Could not tell you.
It'll be your number 4. It will be your number 4. Okay. Celtics. No, I'm not giving you that. That's why the easy ones that everybody gets every time you fucking have it. So I'm not throwing you that one in. Let's see. Which Celt was the 3rd top goal scorer in SPL history from the year between 1998 and 2013? Which Celt was 3rd top goal scorer in SPL history? It's a name you would never expect.
Fuck's sake.
It's quite a tough quiz today, I'll give him that.
2013. Can I surprise me? Scott McDonald.
No, do you know, Ryan?
I was going to hazard a guess at Derek Riordan.
It's Derek Riordan. That would have been the answer. I wouldn't have got that myself. Right, question 4 for you, Ryan, to go up 2-1. Neil Lennon scored 2 competitive goals away from Celtic Park. Who did he score them against?
Dunfermline?
It was Dunfermline. Shout out David Buick. There you go.
And you've muted
Mike's away again.
I think it's
you get that mic in the black market.
I think it's fusing. Like, see, the camera goes black. I think it must be like a fuse or something. Right, okay. Question 5, Callum. You need to get this right, or Ryan does win. How many points did the Invincibles win the league by?
101.
No, how many did they win it by? No. How many did they win it by? So how many?
By the gap. Sorry,
yeah. How many ahead of Aberdeen were they?
29.
Oh, you're a point off. 30. 30 was the correct answer, which means Ryan does win. They'll give you a final question anyway. What was Mark O'Neill's first competitive game in charge of Celtic, and what was the score?
I don't know. I don't know, mate.
You want to hazard a guess at the team?
I guess it's a European game.
It's actually not. No, apparently it was Dundee United. And it finished Celtic 2, Dundee United 1. Sutton and Larson got the goals. But that's it, Ryan. You've won this week. An impressive 2-1 victory. Lads, I better wrap it up so that me and Ryan can get ahead to our class in fashionably late fashion. But fashionably fashion, that's of course what I meant. Lads, it's been a pleasure as always. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts ahead of the derby this weekend. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow and share out the show. Follow us on Twitter to get involved with future call-in episodes and getting your questions in too for normal episodes at Sellik Podcast. And that'll do it from us. Lads, thanks for joining me. I'll see you all next time.
Cheers.